Lena, how do you like our cozy setup for the podcast interviews? Do you feel comfortable?
I do. It was a high chair. I'm very short, but it was okay. I got up.
Okay, so welcome everybody. We are live at Romanian Testing Conference 2023. It's Shift Happens podcast first season, and we are here with Lena Nyström. Welcome.
Thank you.
Lena, let's start with an introduction. If you can do it yourself, just introduce briefly, and maybe if you want to emphasize on the impact you think you have on the IT and testing industry.
Yes, so who am I? What I do in my day job is I'm an engineering manager at a pan-Nordic bank based in Stockholm. And then to get my kick of the theater side of me, I'm also a keynote speaker, workshop facilitator, so I get to travel the world and do fun stuff like this. I am also an author. I'm a mentor, mentoring potential new public speakers. So I guess, hopefully, the people who read my book, those are the people I impact and the people I mentor. Otherwise, I assume the people I manage day to day, maybe I impact them a bit, but it's not like I'm changing the world or the IT industry. Maybe nudging a few people more.
I'm sure you do. This is just great. What I want to ask you now is how you decided to choose Romanian Testing Conference this year. I know you've been a speaker before, right? And now you are the chairperson of Romanian Testing Conference for Enabling Change team. What made you choose us this year, and how do you feel it has an impact on your personal growth to do this?
I guess they chose me since they asked me to be a chair, and I was happy to get back here. I was gonna be a keynote speaker last year, but got COVID, so I was really sad about that. And then they called me and they asked me if I wanted to be the program chair this year, and I was like, yes, please. So enabling change was my idea. It was the topic that I chose. And I picked it because I believe that a lot of people ask, like, is testing a dying industry, and like, are we becoming obsolete? But I think testers are like the perfect change enablers, and I think we need to focus on that part of our like skill sets. Mm-hmm. So my personal growth, it's the first time I'm the program chair. That's the first.
The first time for any conference, right?
Like the program chair, creating the content. I've been on on a committee creating programs for a few conferences in Sweden. I've been reviewing abstracts for other conferences, but this is my conference. This is my theme. That's the first.
That's great. Congrats. Yeah, it's really interesting times that we are living, and it's really a great team to do it. Yeah, I want to go backwards a bit. So what I know about you is that you were a software developer and you had a transition to a tester career, which is, some might say, it's like the opposite of the general expectation, right? So how did you decided to do the transition? What led you take the decision to do it?
I have several 45-minute talks about this topic, but in short, I was extremely bored. I had been doing code for 11, 12 years. I felt I didn't feel it wasn't challenging anymore, because the code part of being a coder is just logic. And once you've solved problems enough times, you just apply the same logic. It's just like you get a pattern, and it becomes, for me, boring. I think if I was a developer today, when there are so much more things going on, there's an entire ecosystem you need to know just to publish a web page. So I think today I probably wouldn't have made that transition. But back in 2009, 2010, I was just incredibly bored. I needed something new to do. We were sent on a testing course, like a group of developers. Everyone else was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm a developer. Testing is beneath me. And I came out of this course and I ran to my boss and I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. This is like intellectually challenging in a way that code never was.
Don't get me wrong, but I really hate this approach among my fellow developers. I'm a developer, but every time I see one that say testing is beneath me,
Yeah.
nah, testing should be part of your nature and your mindset. It's not one without the other. Yeah, this is really interesting inspiration for our tester viewers. And actually, it's the second time we are discussing about a developer that got bored and switched it to testing career. So hopefully some others will get inspired and understand they are equally important
Yeah.
in what software engineering is. Okay, so what else we know about you? We know that you have a passion for writing, right? You just mentioned that you
Yep.
are an author. How did you discover this passion? How did you decide to do it? And do you feel there's a fight there, the tester Lena versus the author Lena, or do they blend together and they help you become a better professional?
Ooh, big question. If we start from the beginning, I've always loved writing. I was one of those kids who I loved when we got like assignments to write essays or like book reviews or whatever it is. As long as it was writing, I loved it. And I had teachers who really encouraged it and really saw that part of me. So my writing aspiration started in like 8th grade with a teacher who said, one day I want to see your name on a book. So I dedicated my book to her and I sent her the first copy and I was like, I'm sorry, it's like a testing book. It's not like the literary story you wanted me to write, but it's a book at
writing,
least.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's my name on it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So how did I decide to do it? Well, it started with I was doing a workshop with Lisa Crispin, who is like one of my idols in the testing industry. Wrote a bunch of books with Janet Gregory. So I was doing a workshop with her. We were going to do, we wanted to do something with risk because risk is something that I'm very passionate about. And we wanted to do something with heuristics because we were like, heuristics is something we talk about a lot in testing, but no one can really explain what it is. So we're like, we want to do something with this. And then I want to make a game. And she's like, you want to what? And I'm like, I want to make a game. So I made a card deck with 30 cards that are related to testing, risk, and heuristics. So then I had like my 30 chapters of my book.
Yeah.
Because when we did the workshop, I realized that I kept getting the same questions over and over again, like, what does this card mean? What could you give me examples? And I kept telling the same stories. And then I was like, but this is my book. The stories about these cards and what they mean to me, that's my book. And then I just had to write it. And then do I feel like this conflicts with my work? Not at all, because I think writing and public speaking and doing workshops, they are all about communication. It's like, how do I communicate a message in a good way, which is basically amazing. When you want to be a good tester and influence people, you need to tell stories. You need to be able to communicate a message. So
yeah, and it's like a really important human skill. And no matter where you are working, what is your career, it doesn't matter if you are the tech guy. You need to have communication skills. You're part of the team, and it doesn't go one without the other. We always say that tech skills go hand in hand with human skill, and we have to sharpen them. I remember back in the days when I was in university, and we had it was a course on embedded software development, but our teacher said, okay, let's challenge you guys, let's try a change in our curriculum. And it was, let's write a scientific essay about singularity. And it was like 100 people watching each other and saying, oh, but we are developers. You're asking me to read books and write an essay? Yes, I'm asking you this. And there were very little that did it, but I really loved to do that part. And somehow I always think in the last year, discussing about AI everywhere, I always remember about the things I read about the singularity, and I think this is what frightens me about AI a bit. But going back to the writing, it was really great, and I think everyone should do it. And yeah, and also I'm happy to hear that you had that early years in school mentor that said, "I want to see
Yeah.
your name on a book." It's always great to have such inspiration. Okay, so definitely all you said makes you a really fast learner, and we know that you say you have the ability to see context and to understand how things fit together, and this leads us to consistency. Okay, we've been discussing a lot of about consistency lately. Uh, what is the challenging part to maintain consistency, and why is it important in any career, or especially in a testing career?
It's a very good question. I read this before and I tried to think about it. I think I'm horrible at consistency. I think I'm a very creative person who likes to plan, but I'm horrible at like consistency. So I honestly don't know. I don't know. I think my ability to see patterns and my ability to connect the dots is more connected to my creativity and to like being able to see patterns, which I assume comes from the developer years. But I'm horrible at keeping like a schedule or consistency as anything. As soon as it becomes something I need to do more than once, it becomes boring and I stop doing it.
I I uh, I read some words by a guy who is a professor at university here in Cluj, and he was saying something about the new way of organizing workplace and remote work and work from home, and he was saying something that our brains need to have some common paths, need to have some patterns. Our brain need to wake up at a particular hour and dress and go to a place where your creativity can explode. And if you're just trying to do your work everywhere in any environment, in the end we have some anatomical limitation that won't work. Do you feel this applies to you too, or you can be creative anywhere, and no matter the environment? Or
I think I need to feel like something is stable. And that could be like my personal life. It could be having the same office setup. It could be having the same morning stand-ups every morning, even though I dislike having to set aside like an hour of every day just doing stand-ups. But anyway, as long as I have something that's stable, the rest can be chaos. So if I have I have a very amazing home office setup at home because I have the space. I've spent years perfecting it. So as long as I have that, the rest can be chaos. Or if I have like the same tasks to do, the where I am can be chaotic.
yeah, yeah.
So as long as I have that one stable pillar, the rest can be however they want.
I'm totally with you in this, and I feel the same. There's times when I have like redundant work that I need to do, and I can do it outside, having my dog around me, and even throw him a ball from time to time. But there are moments when I just take my bike, go to the office, and have like a steady environment that allow me to be creative with whatever I'm doing. Yeah. The only constant is change. And I'm
Yes.
quoting you. How come?
And I'm laughing because those are the words of a founder a founder of a company I used to work with. They kept saying that, and it really bugged me because I felt like sometimes they were using it to like excuse not making decisions. But I mean, in a way, it's also true because we never know what's going to happen, but we know today is not going to be the same as yesterday, and tomorrow is most definitely not going to be the same as today, because things are changing all the time. If it didn't change, we wouldn't be humans, I think.
You've already inspired others here at RTC. I've already heard others
Ooh.
saying my constant is change. So there are people that are totally with you on this. But how can we navigate through this challenging and uncertain? Is there anything that Lena is doing particularly to navigate through this challenging and uncertain days we are living?
I mean, I think for me it was just accepting that it will change, and I mean, as I mentioned, I got bored after doing coding for so long. I tend to get bored with like stability, so I'm constantly changing things. If things are too stable, I need to change something. So I think I am more looking for change than I've never been afraid of change.
Yeah.
But I think it comes with having that something that's stable. Because when everything is moving, I've been in situations or periods of time where it felt like my personal life was not working. I wasn't happy at my job. I wasn't happy in like my body, who I was. Then every change is scary. But if you have something that you know you can lean on, then it's just, I find it more exciting that things are changing. I find it exciting that things are evolving and moving.
Yeah, that's just inspiring. And yeah, a lot of people are afraid of change, and indeed acceptance is the first step. At least I remember I was discussing with a guy that it's into AI, and he was telling me, because I must be honest, I'm a bit afraid of the AI. I told you maybe it's the books that I read for my singularity scientific report, and he was telling me, Alex, you want it or not, it will happen.
Yeah.
It's two ways. You are whether with the flow or you are against it, and it will be more difficult for you if you are against it. Yeah. There's a lot of discussion these days about AI, about a lot of AI technologies. ChatGPT is in everyone's house. People are afraid of it. People are sharing personal information to it. People think they'll steal their jobs. People think they will make the jobs easier, and they will have more time for the real important things in the life. What is your relation with AI?
I mean, I'm on your side here. I grew up with science fiction books. I see like the end of days. I mean, I love risk. Risk is in my DNA. I see all of the risks. I see everything that can go wrong. I understand that it will happen. I mean, this is nothing new. We've been working on these ideas for decades. The difference is that it feels like we've come to a point, we've passed a threshold where it's spiraling, and we're not in control anymore. It feels like things are moving faster than we can control it, and you hear experts starting to say, "Ooh, maybe we shouldn't have done that." And I'm sure we will come to a point where it stabilizes, and I'm not going to stand in the way, but I'm avoiding it as much as I can. Because I can see all of the amazing things we could do with machine learning, AI, whatever we call it, whatever it is, using data to solve problems. I can see tons of benefits from it. But I'm still the kid who watched Terminator and like, when is Skynet coming?
Exactly. Yeah. We've been discussing the other day about this, and this is what frightens me too, that we are out of control. And you remember that I mentioned it's like, I understand that what humans have and the other animals in the natural ecosystem do not have is this thinking and that brain that allows us to find the patterns, to link the dots, to do the learning, right, to
Yeah.
do the thinking. And somehow there are people that come today and say, okay, my AI will do the thinking instead of you. And this is what frightens me the most, because this is what rings a bell. And I remember, again, I'm going back to the books that I read about singularity, and the point where we won't be able, even if we won't be able to control them. And what will we become? Just
Yep.
another species
Yep.
besides the other animals in the world, and we're gonna have the AI that will rule it.
Yep.
I think that we're not gonna get there, but how it's gonna change the things we know, how it's gonna change the way we interact with each other, and how it's gonna change the way humans will interact between them. Because I'm wondering if we'll live some days when somebody will point out on the street, "Oh, you are the tech guy. You are behind the technology that took my job, and now I'm living in the street." Should we be afraid about this? Should we be thinking that there will be some riots inside the humanity because of AI? Will it be a more harm than, I don't know, the industrial revolution did for the humanity? Or
Funny you should mention Industrial Revolution, because that's what you made me think of. I'm sure there were people who said the same thing then. Will the machines take my job? It's your fault. We had the same conversations with women's votes. Like, you're the reason women can vote. All of the big shifts, all of the big leaps in humanity have had the same. It is scary with these huge changes. But I mean, I had a discussion with Mike, the presenter. We talked about, because one of my teams at the bank they experiment with ChatGPT and similar tools a lot. And what I've noticed when I watch them, when I join them in the mobs, is that the code writing is faster, but they spend just as much time reading the code. So I don't think we're going to end up with a lack of programmer jobs. It's just going to shift into doing different tasks. Someone else will perhaps write the code for you, but you will need to learn how to read code, how to analyze code, how to, like, is this actually doing what I want it to do, and how can I tweak it, and how can we improve it? So yeah, they're probably getting better code out of it, and they are becoming better system developers by using it. But they're not producing more code faster. They are just using the time for other things.
And in order to be prepared, we just have to understand that it won't gonna be like I'm writing some code or I'm testing some application using some tools, and it's like a repetitive task that I'm doing without understanding what's behind the scenes. Because unfortunately, I've been seeing this a lot, especially among the young ones, I think, that they don't try to get under the surfaces anymore. And I think this is something that will help you once the AI will be commonly used in the IT industry. We'll have to get deeper because we'll be the reviewers. Okay,
Yep.
you will have the important role of reviewing the code of the AI. Maybe add couple more lines, or maybe tweak a bit the test that AI is already writing for you. But you have to understand what's behind the scenes, and you have to first develop yourself into that direction. So this would be like the change we have to embrace, right, in the next years.
I mean, copy pasting ChatGPT code or copy pasting Stack Overflow code is not that different.
Yeah.
I mean, back in my days, we wrote the code ourselves, but
Yeah, but nowadays companies want it faster,
yeah.
cheaper, and with better quality, right? How are the testers seen these days? I mean, I remember there were days, just like you mentioned, developers saying this is, I mean, I'm better than doing the testing. There, let the tester doing it. Was this change in the last years? I mean, is the value of the QA guys in the team, or the value of QA in general, did it become like a mindset for the whole tech team, or we still have to do some progress on that area?
I think it's shifted in a way, but it stayed exactly the same in other ways. So I mean, you can look at salary data and like how many jobs there are available, and you can see that any role that has the name testing in it is valued less. That's stayed the same. But at the same time, I see a lot of companies invest more in quality in other ways. So, I mean, we've shifted, but we've also stayed the same. So, for example, the team that I'm working with now spend a lot of time on testing, but they don't have a tester. So the developers, there are still developers out there who think testing is beneath them and they don't do testing, or they see testing as only checking through automation. But I also see a shift, at least in the people that I've managed nowadays compared to 10 years ago. It is more natural. It is more a part of their job. They spend, for the first time in my life, I had to tell someone, yeah, could we just get this into production? Because it's just going to live for 6 months. You don't have to write those tests, which I thought I would never say, but I did. So I think it is becoming more included in other professions. But I wish more companies saw the true value of like real quality experts, like doing proper testing. That would be lovely, but reality is not there, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately. Okay, I want to cover another topic that I've been reading a lot, and I've also been involved with. Basically, I'm more into providing digital solution for customers that aren't digitalized. And I've been read about digital transformation, and there was a report from Google, I think, that said digital transformation meaning has changed, and we started by understanding the functional needs of what digitalizing a company is, and now we are more into aspirational, like customer experience, organizational culture, I don't know, the mindset that the employees have and their productivity, and how digital transformation helps them. How do you see it as an engineering manager in a company, or how do you see this concept?
I mean, just as AI, this is something we've been talking about for as long as I've been working. It's just that digital transformation in the 90s meant digitizing pictures, digitizing music, digitizing a lot of things. And then it's something that we've been talking about. Yeah, digital transformation is happening now. But it's been doing that for 20-something years. We just keep applying it to new things. So, I mean, now
Somehow after the pandemic, a a lot of companies understood that they have to become more and more
Yeah.
digitalized. Even in the IT industry, it's about digitalizing the
Yeah.
workplace and so on. So there are more change recently, maybe because of the pandemic, or we are just speaking about them more because of the pandemic.
I don't think there's more change. I just think it's different things that's changing. One of the first applications I worked on was revolutionary for the time because we built like a decision engine for claims handling, which was like it was unheard of at the time. That company has been passed by competitors with like miles after that, because now that's just every insurance company has that today. But 20 years ago, they were like, this cannot be done. But that's common now. So now companies are looking at like, what processes can we automate now? So now we see automated onboarding as something just expected. And then we have like, what other processes can we automate? What else can we automate? So I don't think it's changing faster or more. It's just different things. And then once the things we are looking to digitize now, once they are like the normal, we're going to keep pushing, because it's what humans do. We push. We want to change. We want to evolve. We want to improve.
Yeah, totally. We've already mentioned the ability or the skill to accept the change. We've already mentioned the ability of finding patterns, the creativity, which are all human skills. Would you consider that these are the most important, or is there anything else that you would say it's important for someone who wants to become a game changer in its own ecosystem, own organization or community?
The ability to actually listen to people.
Yeah,
Because
it's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard, but it's
yes.
important. Yeah,
I think we underestimate how much influence there is in actually trying to understand the people we're talking to. Because we are trained to convince and change people's opinions, but the power of trying to like understand your reasoning behind why you think differently than me, that's like once you start doing that, like asking, could you please, like, I would have thought B when you say A.
yeah.
Could you explain why? That's, yeah.
I don't know if it was the school or my friends around, but somehow I got trained since the early years to listen in order to find a solution and respond. But it's my wife that it's a mentor in the last years that is keep telling me, I'm not telling you this so you find an answer for me. I'm just telling you just to listen and try to understand. And I it's difficult, but I try to become better on it, and everybody should do the same. And it's important in the personal life, it's important in the professional life, everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. It's really an important thing. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to add, or maybe you have like a closing message as the RTC chairperson for our viewers?
Oh, I should have prepared that. No, I mean, thank you for having me on this podcast. It's been lovely. It's. I mean, I'm a very self-centered person. I love talking about myself. It's my favorite topic. So getting to just talk about me and my worldviews has been amazing.
Thank you too. Thank you too. Yeah, and thank you everyone for watching us. I was Alex Mocioi, Shift Happens podcast host. We are live at Romanian Testing Conference, and watch us soon on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and the others. See you in the next episode.